Welcome to Cultivating Connections, exploring cultural humility in the nonprofit community. My name is Yahya Ortega, and I am Thrive's Policy and Equity Manager. Thrive is joining forces with Silicon Valley Council of Nonprofits to bring you relevant racial equity, diversity, and inclusion events for the upcoming months. The nonprofit REDI Hub is a joint effort between Thrive Alliance and SVCN to integrate REDI into the nonprofit community in San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. We'd love to learn who is in the room with us, so please introduce yourself in the chat by sending your name, title, organization, pronouns, and native land. We will recap some of the items to share in the chat box. Just a few housekeeping items before we dive into the workshop. We're starting off with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that our office and services operate on the ancestral homeland of Ramaytush Ohlone tribes past and present. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it through the generations. As organizations that are dedicated to advancing equity, practicing empathy, and understanding each other's differences, we aspire to show appreciation, respect, and concern for all connected to this land. We also acknowledge our committed relationship to Indigenous peoples, and we gratefully recognize our history. Now that we're all settled in, I would love to tell you about our nonprofit REDI Hub. As a part of our commitments to live out the promises we made in the nonprofit racial equity, we commit and take action to address systemic racism, discrimination, and inequity in our communities and organizations. We'll do this by sharing resources, curriculum for nonprofit staff to use and learn from, developing and enabling actions such as trainings and tools, promoting collaboration and partnership to create spaces of connection and support. So save the date for our next Racial Justice Summit. We will hold our third annual summit the week of November 14th through the 16th. Feel free to scan the QR code on here or use the resources in the chat box. Okay, so you have all made it to this event. Congratulations. You've taken the first step in getting engaged with our nonprofit REDI Hub. We invite you to check out our REDI resource page, which you can either scan our QR code on the screen or follow the instructions in the chat. This page is your ever-evolving guide to nonprofits in their journey to become anti-racist organizations and is a part of our REDI Hub. This resource page offers various tools, guides, research, and more for nonprofits wanting easy access to content relevant and helpful to their own racial justice journey. I would like to thank our sponsors, David and Lucille Packard Foundation, investing in the nonprofit REDI Hub and believing in our vision for this sector. Secondly, I'd also like to thank our partners, Redwood City Together, for the commitment to racial equity and sponsoring this event. You'll learn more about them later in this program. But before we get started, we would love to tell you more about how you can get engaged with Thrive Alliance. Thrive Alliance, along with the environmental justice partners, will host our second annual Climate Summit in South San Francisco. Register using the link in the chat box. Another way you may want to stay involved with us is through Thrive's Translation Hub. We offer free translation and interpretation for all San Mateo County nonprofits. If you serve San Mateo County and want to expand language access to your community members, contact me. We will add my email in the chat box. And here are some upcoming opportunities to plug in with SVCN. Join SVCN at Be Our Guest, their unique nonprofit luncheon and pumpkin auction. Okay, that was a lot of information. Now let's dive into the program. We're honored to introduce Rafael Avedaño, the Executive Director of Redwood City Together, who brings over 15 years of nonprofit management experience and a strong background in leadership on councils and boards over the past 9 years. Rafael has been leading Redwood City Together for 3 years, where his work is dedicated to enhancing public policy and fostering community collaborations, supporting youth and families in Redwood City and North Fair Oaks. We are immensely grateful to have him moderate this panel, and his wealth of knowledge and experience will enrich our discussion.
Thank you so much, Yahida. Hi, everybody. Welcome. You made it. Happy welcoming week to you all. You have signed up to be a part of a training today, a learning, also a dialogue. Show me some thumbs. I love to hear emotion. I love spaces and when we're gathered together. So show me some emotion in the house of how you're feeling today. Thumbs up. I'm feeling good. So I don't know. That means you don't push the like button. But overall, I'm excited. I like you all. I like the fact that you're here. I feel like energia, it's high. The energy's high. It's welcoming week, and if you don't know what welcoming week, it's an annual campaign that celebrates the work in communities to become welcoming places for all, including immigrants, and it launched in 2012 by Welcoming America and its members. Welcoming Week provides individuals and organizations an opportunity to showcase their values through initiatives, through connections, and through collaborations like what we're doing here, so that all folks of all walks in life, immigrants, mixed status, or however they feel represented, feel a sense of belonging. So with that, I just want to thank the power of collaboration today. And what I mean by that, I want to thank Silicon Valley Council of Nonprofits, Thrive Alliance, and also the Redwood City Together collective board, staff, and community that have helped put on such an array of amazing activities. So with that, I want to just go into what our goals are for today. Like what is that we're really going to get after as a group? The goals that we're going to go after today is to uncover proven strategies and best practices that empower nonprofits working with immigrant communities to integrate cultural humility into their organizations. So I know that this is something that we got from the community that was kind of an urge. So we're trying to, show up for that. We're also trying to gain insights into concrete steps to center the immigrant community with your organization structures. Definitely learn from those who are on the ground today. You're going to hear from some amazing champions that are doing some amazing work for our community members, primarily those who are the most vulnerable. We're also going to engage in candid discussions on overcoming obstacles faced while operating in diverse environments and systems. That you probably all know about, how to navigate difficult conversations, political conversations, how to, navigate the tough waters sometimes, right? Who's with me? Yeah, raise your hand. I can't see you, but you know who you are. I go through it a lot too. Next slide, please. So our working definitions today, we thought it's really important to be grounded on like working definitions on how we define cultural competence and cultural humility. Cultural competence for us today means the ability to understand, appreciate, and interact with persons from cultures and or belief systems other than one's own. For us, cultural humility means the ability to maintain willingness to suspend what you know or what you think you know about the other person's, about another person based on their generalizations about their culture. We each hold our own truth. So in order for us to operate in I like to say, we say this in the office a lot, in my teams actually in the next room. We like to operate in that operation of doing good. And in order to move the needle of goodness, we need to make sure that something grounds us to do that good work, right? So these two will be like our grounding kind of needle movements for us today. Next slide, please. And the three factors of cultural humility that are also grounding our work today is having a lifelong commitment to self-evaluation and self-critique. One of the things we talked about when framing this conversation is having that self-realization of like why we do the work. Like constantly when I'm in this nice office, you can't see my background, but like what got me to being in this office? Why am I here? Like constantly doing that self-realization check to be able to serve those, right, who we are constantly on the ground with. To second, fix power imbalances that exist, right, in our communities. How do we share agency so that we're constantly thinking about how to make the world a better place for all, right? And then the third thing is to develop partnerships with people and groups who advocate for others, right? I think for me, definitely, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for advocacy that was given to me as a youngster. Growing up in South San Francisco, Peninsula raised, there was a lot of stigma. There was a lot of, he won't be able to make it far. But through the advocacy of great teachers, great mentors, those partnerships were able to really help us shine and move forth. So, yeah, next slide, please. And then the diversity wheel. This is a really cool, like, I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is a good instrument for sharing light on various, sometimes hidden and less explicit aspects of life in an organization where diversity is present in every single moment of our life, right? And using this tool can make things be better visible for people who we work with, increase their understanding of acceptance of diversity. And this is the original diversity wheel, which was introduced by Marilyn Loden and Judy Rosenholz book in their Workforce America book. So this is a really good tool to kind of always think about like how we are seeing diversity in play in all aspects of our walk. So yeah, I'm really excited to just lay the ground for us today on how it is that we're going to get after this beautiful discussion. And I'm super jazzed to introduce our panel, y'all. They're going to be able to talk a little bit about themselves, but I'm going to be able to hype them up right now. Coming out of Amigos de Guadalupe and the east side of San Jose, we got Jeremy Barus. From Multicultural Institute, we have Mirna Cervantes. You'll hear about what they do in a bit. We also have Judith Guerrero from Coastside Hope. I love how they're just coming up. Rock stars coming up here. We should hear some drumming. That'd be nice. And then we have Bea Pangilinan from Asian Law Alliance. So let's give some emoji love, y'all, for these folks. If we were in person, we'd be hearing the crowds go wild. Welcome, panelists. And I'm going to start with Jeremy introducing himself. Jeremy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, the organization, and one thing you're most proud of the work that you do. Thank you for being here.
Hi, everybody. Jeremy Barus, pronouns he, him. And I am the Director of Policy and Organizing with Amigos de Guadalupe, Center for Justice and Empowerment. We are a place-based organization located in the Mayfair neighborhood of East San Jose. And our vision is to bring about transformational change in East San Jose. Building upon the inherent strength of our community, we work to meet the needs of our families through high-quality programs such as interim housing, immigration legal services, ESL and citizenship classes, financial assistance, education programming, and community organizing and advocacy. And I'm very proud to be able to work with our beautiful East San Jose families and really just build collective community power over the last several years. In addition to our community organizing and base building, we have graduated over 60 immigrant community members from East San Jose through our political education classes, where we have led 6-week political education curriculum, and we have helped win different campaigns around affordable housing, issues related to immigration and economic empowerment. And I'm really glad to be here today. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jeremy. All East Side's cheering for you, and now you got the whole Bay Area here with you. With that, we're gonna pass it off to Mirna, representing the Bay Area Multicultural Institute. Right? Tell us a little bit about why you love to do what you do.
Thank you, Rafael. Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna Cervantes, she, her, ella pronouns. I'm a proud daughter of Mexican immigrants. I'm the eldest of 4. I'm originally from Southern California, but have been living in the Bay Area since 2010, so definitely repping the Bay Area here. I'm the executive director of the Multicultural Institute, and we are a regional nonprofit serving Alameda, Contra Costa, and San Mateo counties. For over 32 years, we have served various immigrant families and communities, with our focus being Latino families. We are best known for our work with day laborers and domestic workers, and we offer comprehensive wraparound services, including job placement assistance, GED and business entrepreneurship courses, day labor housing, youth educational programming, and health and immigration support. In any given year, we're serving over 3,000 individuals and reach many more through their networks. This year, we received the Nonprofit of the Year recognition for District 14 for our wonderful work in Alameda and Contra Costa County. So we're really happy about that. I just completed my 13th year working at MI, and it really has been a complete honor to serve our community. I consider myself to be a very compassionate and inclusive leader. And so one of the things I'm most proud about has been my ability to bring both of those practices, inclusivity and compassion, to my everyday to day work to positively create cultural and organizational shifts at MI. We are currently a multi-generational team, and we bring so many perspectives into our work, and we continue to use that to our advantage to providing quality and relatable services. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Also coming out of San Jose, y'all. Let's give it up. Let's give it up. We got from the Asian Law Alliance, Bea. Bea, tell us a little bit about why you love to do what you do.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bea. I'm Deputy Director at Asian Law Alliance. ALA is a nonprofit legal services and advocacy organization, and our mission is to provide equal access to justice for API and low-income communities here in Silicon Valley. We do our work by providing counseling, one-on-one representation, education, and mobilization and engagement to the communities that we serve. So about 2/3 of ALA clients are immigrants, and I am an immigrant myself, having grown up in the Philippines. I did all my schooling there, and I moved to the Bay Area in 2006. And so I have a deep appreciation for what our clients go through, because I also went through the immigration process, and I know how scary and frustrating and long and expensive the whole process can be. And finally, I became a US citizen in 2014. So I do understand that my experience is not exactly the same as that of my clients. And I know I'm preaching to the crowd here, probably for most of you, you know that there isn't always a simple path or any path to immigrants that are applying for relief. So I consider myself lucky that I had a path towards my citizenship. And so that's why I definitely feel for all the difficulties that our clients face. One thing that I am most proud of is how our team was able to adjust our services in so many ways during COVID and now in the hybrid era. So, we had many ups and downs, just during the lockdown, we had to change our intake process 3 times because, every time we would have to discuss, it's not working, what else can we do? And so we had many ups and downs as well, with staff burnout, staff changes, mental and physical health challenges. But we're still here. We've expanded our staff and also our programs, and I'm really hopeful for what's coming.
Powerful, powerful. Thank you, Bea. And y'all coming out, well, I'm telling you, we're Bay Area wide today, coming out of the coast. We got a drum roll here from Coastside Hope. We got the ED, Judith Guerrero. Judith, tell us a little bit about why you love to do what you do, what you're most proud of.
Hi, everyone. Rafael, thank you for the great introduction. My name is Judith Guerrero. I'm the Executive Director of Coastside Hope and have been at this role for the past 4 years. I, like Bea, I'm an immigrant to this country. I moved from Mexico many years ago and actually moved to Half Moon Bay. And my family being farm workers, they found a place where they could work, and we didn't really move anywhere else. This will mark my 10th year working in the nonprofit world. And I will say that the last 4 years have been the most challenging, but also the most rewarding. I carry a lot of who my mom is. My mom's still a farm worker to this day with me. I even joke that the nicer, more kind part of me comes from her. She's a very hardworking individual, but also a very giving and very caring individual. One of the things that I'm most proud of since I've been at Coastside Hope is Coastside Hope is one of the core agencies in San Mateo County, and we are known for providing safety net services, which means food and financial assistance. Aside from being a core agency, we're our own independent organization, on nonprofit. And since I've been here, I've been able to shift the organization towards more of an advocacy role. We have been involved in many more things that are making change or helping change policy. And I like to say that that's because I joined the organization, and I'm looking forward to continuing to do that work. Thank you.
Powerful. Y'all hear that? It was honestly a thunder of knowledge right here that we're about to get after. Beautiful. I'm so excited. We're going to jump into now the Q&A to our panelists. You're also going to have time. Those of you who are in the chat, you're just like, whoa, we got questions for y'all already. You're going to have times for questions as well. Everybody who's here, who's signed in, those of you who got here a little late, missed the presentations in the beginning, don't worry, we'll catch you up. We're happy you made it. But we're going to start with some questions, then we're going to do a Q&A, and then we're going to do also breakouts today. So it's a full-on learning for everybody. Okay, so the first question today, right, diving into some of the things that we already dove into, and this question is for Judith. What does cultural humility mean to you and your organization?
When I was thinking about this question, I thought a lot about who, how I fit into the wheel that you showed us. And cultural humility for me means being able to serve our clients and meet them where they are. I think an advantage for me as in this role is that I'm also like Bea and some of the other panelists. I'm an immigrant, so I went through the journey that they're going through. So I believe that helps me embrace the concept of cultural humility more, because I don't have the same journeys, but I do put myself in their journeys. Like, when I moved here, I spoke no English. I had to learn English like everyone else. I didn't even think I was going to be able to go to college, and I was able to even go to graduate school. So I think it's about really understanding. I would say that for me, I really find it a benefit that I'm an immigrant myself, and feel that that gives me an advantage to better serve our clients, because I understand what they're going through, or I can relate to what they're going through. As far as my organization, I'm someone who likes to start from the bottom, and I did start from the bottom. I used to work in a flower shop for a very long time, so I have a lot of respect for anyone that works in customer service. And that's what I do when I come into an organization. I like to learn the roles of the different positions that we have. I'm not afraid of stepping out of my role and helping. During the pandemic, I was packing food, I was answering phones, I was taking out garbage, whatever it takes to turn the wheels. And I think that's what a lot of us as ED of nonprofit organizations do. But I think in order to get to the level where I was, for me, it was very important to understand where the work that everybody else does in my organization. It also gives me a great appreciation for what they do, which to me, that is related to humility as well.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining how you got your black belt in just knowledge sharing and learning, and you're still getting those stripes, right? I think that's what we're after, to learn, and how it started, right? Really understanding the ground game, right? And wow, from humble beginnings to where you are today. Very powerful. Thank you. The second question we have is, what is the difference between cultural humility and cultural competence, and how you practice that in your organization? And this question is for Mirna.
Gracias, Rafael. So as we learned earlier in that slide that Rafael put together, we were reminded that cultural competence is not just our ability, but also our willingness to interact with and understand other people's cultures, customs, patterns, and beliefs. And for us at MI, we have been able to put into practice our own organizational cultural capacity by following a unique service model that allows us to tailor our approach in a very cultural, responsive, and sensitive way. Our work is based on daily street outreach. It's a model that serves jornaleros, the day labor men that seek for work at different street corners or in front of hardware stores. And that makes direct services, the workshops, and the resource sharing more accessible where they are at. Day laborers spend hours on the street corners. They're waiting for a job that might never come. And on average, there are over 25 day laborers on the street corners every day at each one of our locations. And not enough employers are offering jobs. And so we know that if we weren't bringing the services to them where they are, they would have to make the hard decision to choose between either attending a workforce training or receiving a resource, or waiting for a job. And so that's why going a step further into culture humility is so crucial to our work. We are not an organization that wants to make assumptions on what is needed. We don't just want to provide resources that we think are helpful because of our own biases or perceptions of the community we serve. We really want to know the real concerns and the needs through them. So that's actually what we do. We ask them, right? So we ask them at our monthly day labor and domestic worker meetings. We ask them through surveys and casually as well when we see folks on the street or in our office. And that really helps to guide the services we provide, and in both the more culturally competent and also more culturally with humility, right? So part of our outreach model is to build community through pláticas and conversations, but also to hear from them what is needed and what areas are important to them. And we continue to work in a way that makes folks feel heard and seen and recognized. And there's many things that I can share about how we do that, but I want to share a beautiful example of what we have been able to do every morning through our coffee bar. So many of our conversations on the street corners with jornaleros and day laborers are around the unstable income that comes in, right? It's hard for them to pay for rent. It's hard for them to pay for their bills, and even difficult at times to purchase food. And that's one of the reasons, actually, side note, on why we started our food distributions and on-site pantries. But one of the things we realized was that we always saw many of them with the cafecito in their hand, right? And we all know having a coffee in the morning can add up, and it's, it's costly. So we decided to do a mini informal survey and ask them if they would go to our office if we provided free coffee in the morning. And I bring this up because you have no idea how much this has added to the welcoming environment we are trying so hard to maintain, right? We're building community with them in a way that makes it possible for them to share their experiences with us, for them to access resources that they need, and for them to become more involved in our programming and ultimately learn how to advocate for themselves. And it all just starts with a warm cafecito in the morning, right? So for us, really, it has been so wonderful to look up to finding ways to be more practice cultural humility in everything that we do. So I thought I'd share that example because it may seem very small to some of us, but it goes such a long way for many folks in our community.
Mirna, that's really powerful how you talk about how you go to the people, because sometimes, we get bogged down on like dealing with like the day-to-day and the programmatics, but typically like what I hear a lot on your whole unique service model is like going to the people has gotten us really far in our mission. Can you enhance a little bit more about what that means and how you manage your staff to do that? Because that, I think the folks in this space could really kind of gravitate towards that, because sometimes that's the hardest part, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it goes back to something that Judith mentioned, and I think we've all alluded to in our introduction, that really is bringing our own perspectives into play, but also acknowledging that we all have our own truth, right? We all come from different places, even though we might be immigrants ourselves or come from the same neighborhoods, right? It really comes down to having that willingness to listen to folks and adapt, right? We want to make sure that we're organizations that adapt and reflect the community needs, because if not, then why are we here, right? So I do believe in the power of keeping your staff accountable and your team, right? Like keeping them all accountable to be able to have that open mindset, because that's where the real power lies. I hope that answers your enhancement question.
I was taking notes from you right now. Hope everybody else was, because that was powerful. Thank you for sharing. That was really good. We're going to jump into the third question, and we're going to have some San Jose representation in the house. We're going to have Bea and Jeremy get after this one. How can we be the bridge to our immigrant community, right? We just talked a little bit about going to them. How can we be a deeper bridge, right, to our community? It's primarily our immigrants. So Jeremy, I have you start, and then Bea, feel free to follow.
Thank you, Rafael. At Amigos de Guadalupe, we celebrate the cultural vibrancy and diversity of our community. And as an organization, we have a responsibility to value the diversity of our guests. So we don't call our clients, we call them guests. You know, just the term client just sounds very very isolated. So, you know, we value the diversity of our guests, and we tap into each one of our community members' lived experiences. So we practice what we call radical hospitality. We put extraordinary effort and emphasis on creating spaces to be able to listen to our community, to center community voices in all of our decision making, so that our community feels seen, heard, and integrated into the community with us. We've created spaces for active listening and being intentional around centering immigrant community voices, and whether that's designing program or making adjustments to our programming, or through community organizing, we practice cultural humility at every step, whether it's when we want to develop policy priorities or fighting for systems change. We're gathering the problems and the issues that our families are going through by listening and getting their feedback. And then even through, you know, strategies and tactics, when we're mobilizing to action, we're doing our own self-critiquing and constructive listening to our community, because they're the ones who are driving our campaigns. So yeah, creating spaces for listening and gathering feedback through organizing one-on-ones, through case management, or in our own organizing committee. We have an organizing committee made up of our East San Jose immigrant community members, and they really serve as the voice from our community, and tell us on what we should be advocating for, what system change that we should be organizing for.
Thank you so much. Bea, I'd love to hear from you as well.
Yes.
How are you being the bridge to your community with your wonderful organization partners? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Rafael. So being a bridge, I think you have to start within your organization. So you can't really work with a diverse community if you can't work with each other. So we do try to organize, get-togethers, like lunches, or like around Halloween, like we'll dress up and we'll have games and whatever. Because we're also a very diverse staff, right? And so we need to learn how to deal with each other and communicate with each other. And we're flexible, not just with the people that we serve, but also with our own staff. So, for example, for like Christmas and New Year, right? Those are regular holidays, but, many cultures celebrate other holidays too. So if they want to take off for a Lunar New Year, they can do that, or Diwali, we want to be flexible that way too. And we also do a yearly mandatory communications training for staff. That's in addition to other types of training that we do. It's very important for us to learn how to communicate with each other and also with the community. And also, because we serve a very diverse group of people, we also try to have staff and volunteers and board members that are reflective of the communities that we serve. So 44% of the clients that we serve are API, and then like Vietnamese and Chinese would probably be the top two, and then 35% are Latinx. And so you know, we want to be mindful of that, like with our intake, like we need to have them in different languages. We assign, you know, the languages to particular days just to make sure that we are able to serve people. And then we try to get regular feedback from them as much as we can. We have them, you know, answer surveys for us, and especially you know, during COVID, when there was a rise in anti-Asian hate incidents, we started hosting monthly community conversations. And it's just a way for people to get together to share about, you know, what's been going on in the last 2 months. The focus was around mental health. Language access, it's also like really important to us, not just with staff, but then you know, we also have outside contractors that you know, when we can't speak that particular language. I know, like, you know, we sometimes use a language line, but definitely it's not a substitute for having like a live person that knows that culture and like is really fluent in that language. It makes people trust you more. And lastly, we also know that we are not always the best organization to reach a particular community, right? So sometimes we know that it's better to partner with another organization, like to do an outreach or to have an event. So for example, when we did like our census outreach, we partnered with One East Palo Alto because they have more connections with the Pacific Islander community. And when we can, we also subgrant to those organizations, because, you know, if they thrive, then it also helps us do our work. So like, you know, everybody wins.
That's powerful, y'all. I want to go back to something because I highlighted it in my notes. I'm really taking notes. I promise, like right here. Jeremy, you talked about displaying and activating radical hospitality. That was deep. Can you talk a little bit more about how you got there?
Yeah, I think, you know, just, you know, recognizing that East San Jose to us is sacred ground, and the issues that are impacting our families are very, you know, unique. And in order to be able to serve our community in an impactful way is, you know, is what we came up with, radical hospitality, by putting stronger emphasis on building relationships, creating stronger spaces to effectively be able to give them the resources and the tools that they need to empower themselves and their families, and to build power through our community organizing and advocacy. So yeah, I think it's just being able to, you know, meet the community where they're at, meet them with, and our families where they're at, and yeah, just be able to build strong relationships.
Beautiful. And then highlighting what you said, Bea, just this is beautiful. Accountability leadership. You know, we're not always the best at what we do, and when we're not, we reach out, partner. I love that. That's why we're here, right? Beautiful, beautiful. We're going to go on to the next question. A lot of knowledge in here, y'all. I don't see emojis coming in, but you should be getting them hot. Come on. It's good love over here. Fourth question. What are some unique dynamics that appear or our people should be mindful of when working with immigrant communities? So what are some unique dynamics that appear that we should be mindful of when working with immigrant communities? So we're going to have Bea, you tackle this one first, and then just going to have Judith follow right after.
Sure, great. Well, there's really no one size fits all when you're serving one community. They may speak the same language, but you had showed the wheel earlier, and there's just so many things that could affect how people are, their gender, their religion, their education, and so it's just important to have that flexibility, right? Whenever you're working with immigrant community or any community, for that matter. And I always remember a conversation that I had with somebody working in healthcare a few years ago, when everybody was doing outreach around the Affordable Care Act. And she had said, when they were doing these studies, they said, like, you need at least 7 touches before somebody will listen to you or, agree to sign up for something, right? And so it's really like that, right? Like, when you're meeting with the people, like, you have to be curious. I know you ask them questions, but also you have to respect their boundaries, right? And so they may not tell you everything the first time, but if you if you're there, right, when they need you, like they can access your services, or you seek them out, then at some point they will trust you, right? So building that trust is very important. Just again, like, be very curious about each individual that you meet. Because when you're interested in them, then they'll be also like interested in the service, and they'll be interested in working with you. And then, like, again, with flexibility, like, always review your policies and your procedures, see what could be improved, right? Because, I keep thinking about, like, during COVID, right, when everything shut down. So we had to provide most of our services, or at least legal services, by phone. And of course, that didn't work very well. Like, it took too long. There's just so much phone tagging. And then, like, you kind of lose the clients. And then the clients that used to walk into our office, right? It's not easy for them to just, be on the phone, right? So then we did, like, oh, okay, we're gonna try something else. We're gonna do like a hybrid walk-in Zoom thing, right? Then we started incorporating so many other things, like texting, all the different technology that we could access aside from, of course, that in-person meeting. So just figure out what works, not just for your office, but also with each individual client or person that you're serving.
And I'll echo a lot of what Bea has said, and just what the rest of the panelists has said. I think it's about, honoring everyone's journeys, taking a step back, and really listening to what your client needs, because we do call them clients. They might come into the office and, they're coming to you for one particular service, and then you want them to take advantage of these many other services. And I think they're not ready yet. So I do agree with Bea that trust is a big thing. For our example, in our office, at times they will come in just for a pantry visit, and then they start coming on a weekly basis. And then as you get to see their faces or know their names, then you start asking more questions about, what other things could we help you with? And it's not until they feel comfortable and they trust you that they are probably willing to sit down with you and take advantage of all the services. My organization services everyone in the community, but we do have a large group of immigrants, and over the last 3 years, we have had to deal with a lot of fear from the immigrant community of accessing even services from us that were just funded. We were not government funded. So I think it's difficult as a provider at times to recognize that you have all these services that are available to them, and you want them to take advantage of them, but maybe they're not ready to take advantage of them. So let's honor where they are in their life and their journey and their experiences. And if food is the only thing that they want to get from you, let's start there and then work on building that trust, because it's that relationship that you build that will allow you to help them further. And it will also allow you to be a better provider.
Beautiful. Bea, you said be very curious in the individual and they will be very curious about your services. Wow. Judith, honor everyone's journey, such as yours was honored in that floral stand, right? Powerful. Ooh, I'm getting chills, y'all. We're going to go to the next question now, all right, to diffuse my chills. How have you worked to shift power imbalances with your organization to practice cultural humility? Jeremy and Mirna.
So at Amigos de Guadalupe, we hire within our community. So Amigos staff are mostly immigrants themselves or people of color with shared experience of poverty. And the vast majority of staff are from East San Jose. And we are able to learn from their lived experiences on how we design our programs, like I spoke to earlier, how we shape our policy priorities or system change that we want to add, organize, and advocate for. We also have a promotores model who deliver high quality community education in East San Jose, who are made up of Latinx immigrant women who live in the same community that they are working in, and they are essentially educating their peers. We have promoted and elevated our promotores to other key positions within our organization. We have invested in their leadership development, and they bring a great perspective to our organization, especially also to our community organizing. We've also, when we have positions available, we've also offered them to our own guests who are living in our interim housing programs. Many of them are looking for work and they understand the programs and services because they're receiving them. And we elevate them to leadership roles within our organization. And lastly, we have an organizing committee made up of undocumented immigrant community members who serve as an advisory board to formalize community oversight for our organization. And they help us find solutions to many of the community problems, programs, ideas are often vetted through this group. And for all staff, we continue to have continuous trainings and spaces to intentionally engage in self-critiquing and self-reflection and opportunities for constructive listening.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Mirna.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop on a call with Jeremy after, because yeah, we have a lot to go over, Jeremy. But we too at MI have shifted some of the power dynamics by intentionally hiring community members for various work opportunities at our organization. And we are finally starting our promotora work, so that's why Jeremy and I need to connect. But we have had a domestic worker coordinator position created in the last year and a half, and she is a domestic worker herself, and you have no idea how much that has impacted just her reach and her approach, and it's beautiful to see in action. And we are now finalizing the hiring of another domestic worker coordinator, so I hope that that just continues to grow and continue to be a focus of ours to really hire from within the community. But thinking about this question, I also wanted to point out the importance of ongoing self-reflection, which Jeremy mentioned, but also self-development and sometimes even coaching that is needed to truly practice cultural humility. For example, we are immigrants ourselves or children of immigrants. The whole staff team is, but we really had to self-reflect and ultimately accept the fact that we all play into the dominant culture and its power dynamics, even though we try really hard not to, right? And that really led us to begin our anti-racist work and to take advantage of wonderful staff development opportunities for our organization and our team with a wonderful local nonprofit who has been with us on this journey for almost 2 years now. And I believe that we have to really look within in order to do the work, and make room for the community themselves to lead, for them to organize, for them to advocate for themselves. And I think we can't just talk the talk, and I think we all know that on this call, right? And so I really that's, in my opinion, where it lies in our community. So Jeremy and I will talk, and soon we'll have more exciting news.
Wow. From promotoras models, advisory boards, career advancement within house, to really deep reflection, learning, reminding ourselves the importance of self, right? This is good. This is good. But we're going to keep getting better. This is the great part. So we're going to dive into what advice would you give, beautiful familia, family here, panelists, to all the organizations, partners that are here today to practice this groundwork, to have our region continue to be a welcoming environment, and ultimately for it to be a movement. Anyone can go first. Yeah, go for it, Judith.
I'm going to agree with what Jeremy and Mirna are saying about, and the way that I internalized it was about investing in your community, hiring within, and even creating programs that can further the education or professional growth of the community that you're serving. And I'll give you a perfect example. I'm actually an example of that. Before working at Coastside Hope as an executive director, I started volunteering here many, many years ago when I was working in the flower shop. After that, they offered me a part-time job for the tax seasonal program. Then after that, they offered me a part-time job as a just help for the general office. And then while I was working here, I found my calling, and I decided to go back to graduate school to get a degree in public administration. When I graduated, unfortunately, they didn't have a job for me. But another organization, a local organization, did have an opportunity for me. So I went and worked for them for about 5.5 years. And then the previous director retired, and I was asked by the board to be part of the search. I didn't think I was going to get the job, and here I am. 4 years into my job, I still find it very rewarding, very challenging. There's days when I want to pull my hair out, but then there's those really good days. So I think if I had not been given that opportunity, who knows where I would have been. So I think it's very important to invest, what I call it, invest in your community and your community members.
Ooh, talk about the ROI they put in there. You are such a blessing. Return of investment to your community. I love it. Back to the group. Who's next? That was fire. I need to see some more emojis, y'all. Come on. That was people pouring out their heart. Go for it, Mirna.
Yeah, that was very inspiring, Judith. Thank you for sharing your story. I just want to say to be open-minded and be willing to adapt and evolve your service models and programming. I think a lot of times we're stuck in the usual or in the norm, and we often miss opportunities to really go the next step. And part of that is, of course, bringing your community in to help you kind of rethink your work. Of course, our missions can stay the same and our values stay the same, but always adapt it and evolve it to the needs, and really look within the community for those answers. And one of our values is joy. I think always bring joy into all that you do, and that joy will really reach the community and the people you serve and your partners, and it's contagious. So I think those are my two sort of just advice pieces. Do everything with joy, and just be open-minded to adapting and to evolving to your surroundings, always keeping the community in the fold.
I'm gonna keep going, so you gotta just keep going, or else I'm gonna just go on and on, Jeremy. So it's on you. Jeremy or Bear, you're up next.
Yeah, in addition to what the other panelists have said, looking at cultural humility as a journey rather than the destination it's a process, and there is power in the lived experiences of our community, and it's important to create intentional spaces for listening and being intentional about empowering our team members and our members who receive our services and resources.
I'll jump in next. I think this has been an ongoing theme, like with our conversation this afternoon. It's just flexibility, right? Like, when you're meeting with people, like you really do need to meet them where they are. And I think like it starts with like your organization. When I'm interviewing people for different positions at the office, like I do emphasize like we are a nonprofit, like, you have to be, flexible with like different things, and you have to be flexible too, right? Like I'm serving in, in this position, but like when our office assistant is away, like I'm answering phones, I'm doing the photocopying, like, and no job is too small, right? Like it starts with you, that humility, right? And so like I think when people see that in you, they're again like more likely to trust you, right? Like, oh, okay, like I can talk to this person. So yeah, flexibility.
Oh, wow. We're about to jump into questions. I see a lot of emoji love. I see a lot of love in the chat. I love this. For me, I would say how we do it here at Redwood City Together through our community is honestly, I keep it really short. Do good and good follows. I love that. It's a verse, and it's just so poignant. But yeah, with that, I'd love to open it up for questions from the arena that we have in here of warriors, because some of you all have some insights as well, but we'd love to open it up for questions. We have about 5 minutes, I believe, right, Yahada? And we have the wonderful panelists here, and then we're going to jump into some breakouts. Let's give a round of applause virtually to the panelists. Come on, y'all. If we were in person, so I'm going to do it. Yay. Amazing, amazing.
There's a hand raised, Rafael.
Oh, wonderful. Who is it? Let me see.
It's
here.
me. It's Kathy.
Oh, Kathy, how are you? Come on, Kathy,
Good.
go for it. Ask the question. I serve with Kathy, y'all. She's on the ground. Go for it, Kathy.
Well, now that you're saying that, I'm going to put my hand down. But so I'm white. I want to know if you have any advice for white people in particular. Don't be scared.
I would.
Oh,
go ahead,
please,
Mirna.
Judith, go ahead.
I would just say I appreciate when someone takes the time to learn and ask questions instead of judge. We have a team member that my organization, most of us are Mexican. And we do have a team member that sometimes is a stranger to the journeys of immigrants. And we also, aside from core services, we have a small immigration office. And some of the challenges that are encountered by our immigration clients are very familiar to the rest of us. I always appreciate how she comes in and wants to learn more about, because a lot of things she's never been aware or exposed to them. So that goes a long way with me.
I have a 9-year-old, and she's very sociable, but when she goes into a room first, like she'll kind of be quiet and just observe, and kind of like feel her way. And I think like I've learned a lot from just watching her. I think like listening goes a long way. Just, seeing how the culture is like when you're entering into a space. And I think just the fact that you're joining, like people appreciate that. Like if you talk to them, ask them questions, that really does go a long way.
And
Go
I
ahead,
would
Mirna.
just say, yeah, I would just add yes to all of that, and also to not shy away, Kathy. Like I feel like maybe because we serve immigrants, non-immigrants might feel a little deterred from like coming into our spaces and from just getting involved. So I would say, like, don't let that be a reason why you don't kind of take that step to ask and see how you can better help organizations that you may not have the same lived experience with. So that's what I would say and add to that conversation.
Yeah, I think, what's been shared by the other panelists has been really powerful. And in addition, just, yeah, being mindful of how we show up to spaces, being able to check our privileges, and yeah, and have conversations, be able to be a good listener, and be able to be an ally. It's like constant, learning, relearning, unlearning, and finding out how you can be a great ally in the movement.
Yeah, Kathy, and I think I told you this before. It's like another quick liner, fail forward, right? That's from Denzel Washington. Like, honestly, just fail forward. Know that you're not always going to get it right, but be okay to at least try some new methods, and the love will pour on. So with that, we're going to have time for one more question. I see Carrie, one of our trustees from Sequoia Union, in the house. Carrie Dubois, go for it.
And my colleague is also on the call, Shanice Stevenson. So you have two school board members
Oh,
here.
right on. I love it. Thank you.
Representing the high school district. Since you work, with your clients, do you have any messages for public schools? Any hardships you hear about? Anything that we could do better? Anything that we as school board members can advocate for? I can tell you one of our challenges is just getting community feedback. Sometimes we're about to do a strategic plan, and some people, they just don't vocalize what they need. And so if you could give us any advice, that might help the work we do.
Carrie, I have something real quick. I would say reach out to nonprofits that serve the community you want to hear a voice from. We don't do much of the higher ed or of the education piece. It's more training focused. But I would say that if you go out to organizations that do the work, serve those folks, they'll more than happy. We do it all the time. Get surveys out, get those focus groups organized for you, so that you hear directly from them as to what the barriers are, because who better than them to tell you?
I mean, I would piggyback on what Mirna said about the focus groups. Like, frequently it's very hard to say your opinion when it's such a large group that you're dealing with. But in intimate conversations, I think you might get more traction in people sharing like what they really think.
I would also suggest, if you're trying to obtain feedback from a particular underrepresented group, make sure that you have someone who can relate to them. We talked about trust, we talked about cultural humility, we talked about meeting people where they are and respecting their journeys. And a lot of the times that means they want to speak or work with someone that maybe looks like them, understands where they're coming from, or even I would say someone who speaks their language. That has worked for us in our community.
Yeah, I don't have much to add than what's already been shared, but yeah, I think when be able to create spaces where you're able to center those community voices, those student community voices, and having stakeholders or staff that are that share that same community, to be able to have those conversations with.
Beautiful. Thank you for being here, Carrie, and for such a great question. on how you're going to engage. Appreciate you and Shanice. With that, again, let's give a great round of applause to the panelists and to yourselves. You're going to use that momentum and you're going to go into a focus group with what you know, what you learned, and how you plan to go do, right? So with that, Yahaira, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for just bringing yourself and your authentic self to this workshop. Thank you, Rafael, for moderating us through this session. Can we just take a second to take it all in? That was a lot. And I have my notebook here, and I'm sure you all have your own notes. And in order for us to kind of practice what we just heard, we're breaking you off into breakout rooms because we want to hear from you.
All right. Well, we've come to almost the end, but what I always like to do is to really annotate where it is that we started to where we are. Again, our goals today were to get after some ways of understanding, to understand best practices, to empower nonprofit individuals, to work with immigrant communities, to integrate cultural humility into their spaces. The second goal was for us to gain insights into concrete steps to center the immigrant community with organizational structures. And the last goal for us to go after today was to engage in candid discussions on overcoming obstacles faced while operating in diverse environmental systems. I hope that you feel that you got that today as an outcome, right? If you did, I want you to put it in the chat. I got that, right? Because it's super important that we know that we were accountable towards getting these goals in there, right? And I just thank Thrive. I thank the network, Silicon Valley Network. I think Redwood City Together, the core team, staff members, as a community, because honestly, it's a joy to be able to do Welcoming Week. And next month, in November, we'll have United Against Hate Week, and we hope to have these discussions to really explain what it truly means to be about that life, right? And to be about that sometimes means to have hard discussions, hard discussions on sometimes what you don't learn in the books, right? What needs to be learned in dialogue from what we learned in the books. I think that's another application, right? And so I just like to thank you all for coming today, for spending an hour and a half of your day to learning how to be more empathetic, and how to continue to make your heart bigger for the community. So we appreciate you, and pass it off to Yahaira.
Well, thank you, Rafael, and thank you to our wonderful panelists, and thank you to all of you, as Rafael mentioned. Thanks for honoring this time and joining us for this session.